evening, everyone. Welcome to the late night edition of Journey Through the Book of Wisdom with Reverend Dr. Leake. I am Reverend Dr. Angelique House, and thank you so much for tuning in this evening. We are doing a late night edition tonight. I had to do some traveling today. If you're following me on socials, you see that I am traveling today. Um, I had to push this back a little bit. So I'm actually on Central Time right now. So it's 9 o'clock here, 10 o'clock back home in Atlanta. But I didn't want to skip today. I didn't want to skip today's lesson. So we'll do it late and then you just go back and watch it whenever you get a chance. But if you are tuning in live, I see a few people have joined. Welcome. Welcome to the Journey Through the Book of Wisdom with Reverend Dr. Angelique House. I am excited about today's lesson. We are talking about uh, slowness to anger and having wisdom in our emotions. So, as I have for the past 3 weeks, on week 4, I also have a worksheet for you, which I will post in the comments if you are watching on Facebook live. You will be able to see the comments live. If you tune in later via YouTube, then you will be able to access the worksheet on YouTube. So I just posted that in the chat. If you're just joining, welcome. Welcome to June's Journey Through the Book of Wisdom, week 4, with me, Reverend Dr. Leake, Reverend Dr. Angelique House. Again, we're talking about wisdom in emotion, having slowness to anger, and having wisdom in emotion. We are going to pray and we are going to jump right into this brief lesson today. God, we thank you. We thank you for this opportunity, even in a late hour on a Monday, God, those who have joined tonight to discuss your word. God, we ask that you bless it. Even now, we ask that you open our minds and open our hearts to be receptive and responsive to what it is we will hear and what it is we will glean on tonight's lesson, God. Um, Thank you for everybody that is tuning in. I want to thank you for safe travels for myself and other members of the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship. I pray that you will bless the assembly this week and those who are traveling for various conferences and conventions. God, let them be productive without any issue or drama. I ask that you touch all preachers and prognosticators of the gospel on this evening as we are dealing with troubling times, God. We know that you know all, you see all, and you can mend broken hearts. So, all of those who stand before your people and give words week after week, I ask that you special prayer of strength for them on tonight, God. And it is in the matchless name of Jesus the Christ I pray and ask all of these things. Amen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Those of you who are watching live via Facebook and YouTube, God bless you. Thank you for joining. I will share my screen now so that you can see our slides for tonight. Here they are, June's Journey Through the Book of Wisdom. Again, we are on week 4, talking about wisdom in emotion, having slowness to anger. So I am not a explosive person. I wouldn't consider myself an explosive person. I wouldn't say that um, I pop off or crash out, as the young people say. But there are those of us who can admit that anger is a feeling that we feel uh, most of the time. I believe it was James Baldwin who said to be conscious and black in this country is to be angry all the time. Something I'm paraphrasing. Um, so we have various reasons why we should and could be angry. Anger is a real emotion. It is a valid emotion. But wisdom teaches us to slow it down and to redirect our feelings and emotions of anger and to respond in those moments with grace. The book of Proverbs doesn't ask us to pretend we're never angry. It is not against our religion. As Christians, it is not illegal or improper or immoral to be angry. There are examples of Jesus being angry. The text says that we can be angry but sin not. That's where, as we talked about, I believe last week, that's where it gets a little wonky. Is that you can be angry, you can have that valid and real and raw emotion of anger, but it's when you sin as a result of your anger that we run into the issue. So that's why the book of Proverbs helps us in these moments. It teaches us what to do with the anger when it comes. So if you've seen the movie that this character is from, this is the emotion anger, and some of us feel our anger and feel our emotions that strongly, where it's like a cartoon fire popping out of our heads, right? But we're going to talk about ways and methods that we can decrease our anger and how quickly we get angry. So we've got 4 key verses tonight. I love the Message translation. So I have the Message translation on the screen for you. I believe the worksheet has a mixture of New King James and Message. The first one is Proverbs 14 and 29. And it says, slowness to anger makes for deep understanding. A quick tempered person stockpiles stupidity. I want you to think about that for a moment. Um, the research shows that when you get angry, your IQ level, your intelligence quotient, how smart you are, decreases, literally decreases in that moment. So when you get angry, you lose your ability to think. So what the text is telling us here is that when you take a minute before you pop off, before you crash out, before you clock out, before you spaz out, right? Slow and think and process. And that usually leads to a deeper understanding. Typically, our anger is misdirected or misguided because of miscommunication, because of the way something was communicated or not communicated. It's usually, most of the time, a communication issue, right? So you take the moment to let your intelligence quotient, right? Let your IQ rise back up. So you feel your anger. You start to, when I get angry, my chest, I say I get this wrinkly feeling in my chest, like it's wrapping paper in my chest. When I get anxious, when I get upset, I feel wrapping paper in my chest. That's how I describe it. However, some people get this vein that pops out. My daddy gets this vein that pops out of his forehead. Pastor House, I see he gets like this vein, or like this pulsating vein, kind of like the Hulk when he getting mad. It's his blood pressure rising, right? So being slow to anger, it leads and makes for deep understanding. So it causes you to pause and take a moment. But when you're quick tempered and you just react, it stockpiles stupidity, is what the Message paraphrase says. And I like how that puts it. When you really take the time to consider what's making you angry, what's pushing you over the edge, and you draw back and pull back. Um, 9 times out of 10, I would say I may be overestimating, but most of the time, I believe that you will calm yourself down enough to think rationally. And that's what we want to do. We want to think rationally. We don't want to just react. We want to take the time to pause and to consider our reaction before we do it, right? That's the point of this. Proverbs 15 and 1. A gentle response diffuses anger, but a sharp tongue kindles a temper fire. So, similar to what we just said, so somebody says something that makes you angry, and you say the first thing that comes to your mind, well, your mama, well, that's just, me saying jokingly, but There are times when people have said some off the wall things to me, including yesterday, where I really could have popped off and wish I did. I'm one of those people that gets in the shower and rehearses in my head what I should have said in moments where, I mean, I should have said, now I need to go back and say it. No, I consider, right, before I react, before I respond, even if it even merits a response. Most of the time, foolishness doesn't require a response. But if you choose to respond gently, if you choose to respond sweetly and softly and considerably, it typically diffuses the situation. I remember taking a conflict resolution course, got a certificate in conflict resolution. So you may have heard me say I'm a conflict resolution specialist. Um, Technically, yeah, I am. I took conflict resolution course, and it helps you discern and decipher how best to resolve certain conflicts that typically happen in interpersonal relationships between people, right? And again, most of the time it goes back to communication. It almost always is some type of misunderstanding or miscommunication. Sometimes people are very intentional with what they say and don't consider the consequences of what they say. But most of the time, it's it's how somebody says something and it's a misunderstanding or miscommunication. So that conflict resolution thing, it just teaches you how to resolve conflicts between persons. And usually it starts with dimming your response to what's said to you, right? Everything doesn't require a you know. Some things do. I truly believe that sometimes you got to pop out and show. Right. Sometimes you get, but not all the time. You shouldn't be doing that all the time, right? And that's why we're taking this journey together through the book of Proverbs. Proverbs 19:11. Smart people know how to hold their tongue. Their grandeur is to forgive and forget. I love Eugene Peterson's paraphrase in the Message. It really breaks it down and makes it plain. Smart people know how to hold their tongue. Their grandeur is to forgive and forget. That is, it requires a certain level of maturity and growth. It really does. I am not going to say that this is something that's going to happen overnight, right? We took this month-long, 5-week journey together, but this is a lifelong journey of learning how to hold our tongue in moments when we really can pop off and crash out. Um, and forgiving is hard. I remember reading a study, I can't remember how long it's been, and I don't know if the research has changed or not, but that it's practically impossible unless you have some type of neurological damage to forget traumatic events. It is practically impossible to forget odds against you. Um, the brain the purpose of the brain is to keep those trauma responses stored so that your brain knows how to handle trauma the next time it happens, right? So forgetting those things that happen to us, that cause us, that vex our spirits, that upset us, is practically impossible without neurological damage. So it's powerful here to say that smart people have the task of forgiving and forgetting, because the science says that it's not possible to forget, and it may not be possible to forget it, but the purpose of forgiveness is not for the person. I know you've probably heard that cliche before. Forgiveness is not for the recipient of the forgiveness. It is for the person who is forgiving, because the body does keep score. You hold those things in you, and you develop ulcers, you develop tumors, and all of those things. When you don't forgive people, that's what happens. Like, your body reacts to that built up. You throw off your pH balance. I mean, all of those things. And you don't want that. You want to live in a homeostasis body. And in order to do that, forgiving and forgetting. And so that's going to, again, take a lifetime of practice and prayer and being in your word and spending time in God's face to get to the point where you can truly forgive people. And then finally, Proverbs 29:22. Angry people stir up a lot of discord. The intemperate stir up trouble. So I put the definition of intemperate for those of us who may not know what that means. It is an adjective meaning having or showing a lack of self control. That's all it means. It means you don't have any self control about you. Angry people stir up a lot of discord, which is drama, which is chaos. The intemperate stir up trouble. So people who are constantly angry or who walk in a spirit of anger, they cause a lot of trouble. And I'm sure that you can see that. You can think of examples in your home, in your church, in your community, in your fraternity, your sorority, wherever you go, where there's at least two or three gathered together. There's usually an angry person, right? And you can say, when they're angry, when people are upset, it can cause a whole lot of confusion. And so those are our key scriptures for today. So here's our biblical insight. God doesn't ask us to suppress anger. God asks us to steward anger. Anger is not sin, like I said before. Anger is not a sin. It is not a sin to be angry. I want to make that very, very clear. It is not a sin to be angry. But unprocessed anger becomes destructive. The difference between an angry fool and a wise person is timing and tone. Jesus got angry. Jesus walked up in the temple and saw these folks selling doves and selling in the church house, and Jesus started flipping tables over. He was upset. He was upset. You've made this a den of thieves. His anger was always righteous. Jesus got angry. That's how we know it's not sin, because Jesus did not sin. Jesus never sinned, right? That's what we believe. Jesus got angry, but his anger was always righteous, restrained, and redemptive. He expressed righteous anger. His anger had boundaries and clarity and purpose. He flipped those tables over to get rid of those doves, to get rid of those money changers, or whatever it is that was in the temple that wasn't right. Jesus had to flip the tables over, because they would have continued in doing what they were doing. We are called not to suppress our emotions, but to submit them to wisdom. We want to be wise in how we express emotions, because one angry moment can ruin your life. It can ruin your reputation, right? Anger can, it says in Proverbs 29:22, angry people stir up discord. Discord is chaos. When you are in a constant state of anger, chaos follows that. Patience is power under control. It is not weakness. It is maturity. When we act in rage, we sabotage peace. But when we slow down, reflect, and respond with gentleness, we invite wisdom to the moment. Here's our practical application. How to practice slowness to anger daily. Here's our challenge for the week. How do we practice slowness daily? Step one, pause before you react. Pause before you react. Anytime you find yourself in a situation where somebody says something off kilter to you, it happens, right? At my corporate job, it happens more often than it should. So instead of crashing out, instead of popping off, pause, think, consider. Do I really need to say anything to this man, to this woman right now? Maybe I need to walk away. Maybe now is not the time. Let me chill, right? Build a habit of taking a deep breath, even standing right there. Somebody said, you go in through the nose, hold it for 3, out through the mouth. That's your calming breath. Count to 10. Count sheep, count dogs, count lizards, whatever it is you got to do to calm yourself down in that moment. Or silently pray, Lord, guide my response. Proverbs 14:29, to reiterate, whoever is patient has a great understanding. So don't just pop off automatically. Lord, guide my response. Lord, I say it all, Lord, have mercy. That is a powerful trio of words, okay? Lord, have mercy. Sometimes Lord, have mercy. But God knows our hearts. God knows what we're trying to say. Step 2, use gentle words in heated moments. When tensions rise, lower your tone. Choose softer language to de-escalate. You don't have to always be cussing. My daddy says it all the time. Stop cussing and fussing. Start praying. Sound powerful, sound theological advice from the man of God. Stop cussing and fussing. Stop and start praying. Choose softer language to de-escalate. We are going to be de-escalators. We're going to be professional de-escalators. That's what we're doing. Proverbs 15:1. A gentle answer deflects anger. See how I'm tying that thing in together? Got you. Step 3, overlook what doesn't deserve a war. Every molehill is not a mountain. It's not, I promise you. Half of the stuff that comes to my phone on a daily basis, you would not believe it, to my email. Most of the time I ignore it. Some things I acknowledge, but I told somebody earlier today, I step over molehills and walk towards mountains. I'm not interested in buffoonery. Overlook it. Everything is not a war. Every comment on Facebook, every video on Facebook, everything doesn't need a response from you. It doesn't. Keep that energy, keep that intellectual bandwidth. You're going to need it for something in God's kingdom. Don't waste your time. Is this worth the emotional cost? Don't be just spending your emotional dollars like that. That stuff is precious. Energy is precious, and energy is transferred back and forth. Right? That's physics. That's the law of physics. Uh, don't spend too much of your emotional coin. Okay, hold on to that. It is to one's glory to overlook effects. Proverbs 19:11. And then finally, speak life, not fire. If anger does surface, release it in prayer, not in harm. God can handle your heat and return it as healing. Oh, that is good. That is so good. God can handle your heat and take it, flip it, what we say, press down, shaking together, running over, and return it as healing. Sometimes you got to release that thing. I understand and get it off your chest, but you don't necessarily have to get it off your chest with the person that caused that anger to stir up. Take it to God in prayer. Spend that time in prayer. Speak life. Don't let your tongue release words into the atmosphere that you will later regret. You don't want to do that. 4 steps. Pause before you react. Use gentle words in heated moments. Overlook what doesn't deserve a war, and speak life, not fire. Those are your practical applications. That is good. Personal reflection and discussion questions. This is what I want you to take with you this evening, tomorrow, whenever you look at this. Write these down in your journal, in your notebook. Mine's over here somewhere. What usually triggers your anger? What upsets you? I'll be transparent. Something that upsets me, and there is a tendency to infantilize. For those who doesn't know what that means, it means to make childlike or to treat as a child. There is this uh, there's this thing that men do to women, and I'm making generalizations, but there's this thing to me in particular where men infantilize me or treat me like I am incapable of making decisions without their input. And that is a sure way. When people treat me like I'm dumb, that is a sure way to piss me off. Just being transparent with you. That is a 100% surefire way to get Lique to act up. Okay. It drives me nuts. I am not a baby. Okay. Perfectly capable of making my own intellectual decisions. I rarely do things out of impulse, believe it or not. I overthink everything. I know some people may think that, oh, I'm just out here willy nilly. I promise I'm not. Everything I do is with intention. So when I get those kinds of things that make make it seem like I'm incapable of making a decision on my own and that I need your help and your input, that unsolicited input, BT dub, about a decision that I've made, that's a great way to trigger me. That's my transparent moment. What triggers your anger? Let me know in the comments. What, if you want to share, let me know what it is that really tees you off, what really grinds your gears. That's mine. What's your go to response in those moments? Do you explode? Do you give them the silent treatment? I love a good silent treatment. I love a good silent treatment. That is really, and I don't know if that's not dealing with it or deal. I think it's a great, silence is often a great response. And I think we should practice more silence. Um, Sarcasm. Sometimes I hit you with a little sarcasm. Withdrawal. Sometimes I hit that too. I'll just draw into myself, and I'm one of those people that let things pile up until I explode. So, how do you respond in moments that trigger you? How would your relationship shift if you apply that 15 and 1? So, just a reminder of what 15 and 1 said. Gentle response diffuses anger, but a sharp tongue kindles a temper fire. So, how would your relationship change if you responded gently to every single moment of anger, uh, anything that triggered or angered you? What is it that you need to forgive and let go of today? There may have been an interaction within the last hour that you've had with your family member or a coworker or a classmate or something that you need to forgive and let go of right now. Whatever it is, release it. Let it go. It's over. It's over with. Can't do nothing about it. It's happened. It's done. Release that thing. Be free today, people of God. Let that thing go. That's what I want you to reflect on. Here's our challenge for this week, and we're done. Speak one less harsh word this week. I know that's going to be hard for some people because some of y'all pop off. Some of y'all let the folk have it. Try to speak one less harsh word this week. If you're a cusser, try to say one less cuss word this week. Try to speak blessings and not curses. Journal about an offense you need to release. Write it down. Write the vision, make it plain. Write that thing down. And then this is what I want you to do. I want you to write down whatever offense it is on a piece of paper. Then I want you to tear it out of that book or tear it, and I want you to crumple it up. I want you to toss it. That's what we're doing. We're Kobeing it. Kobe into the trash can. We're done with that. Let it go. Release it. Be free today. Journal about it. Write it down on some piece of paper, write it down on a napkin, write it down on a piece of toilet paper, crumple it up, flush it, toss it, get rid of it. I want you to practice those 4 steps that I gave you earlier. They're on the worksheet for you to refer back to later if you didn't get to write it down. Pause and pray when conflict arises. Pause and pray. And then your final homework assignment for this week is to memorize Proverbs 14 and 29. To go back, slowness to anger makes for deep understanding. Now, this is a message. You choose whatever version it is that you want to do. A quick-tempered person stockpiles stupidity. That's your memory verse for this week. That's your memory verse. Next week is our final lesson. It's our final lesson. Week 5. It was 5 Mondays in this month. We are talking about putting wisdom into practice. We've got 4 scriptures of focus for next week, but I've been trying to give you a practical application every day. But in particular, that's what we're going to be discussing, is how we apply these principles that we've talked about for the last 4 weeks, coming on 5 weeks. How do we put these things into practice into our daily lives? And that's what we're going to talk about. I thank you so much for sticking with me these 30 minutes. I hope it has blessed you. I pray that it has blessed you. These past 4 weeks have just been really fun and interesting for me to go through the book of Proverbs and to really we're taking an inward journey at my church. We're talking about The Inward Journey. It's a book by Howard Thurman. Really doing an inner reflection, looking at the man, the woman in the mirror and saying, where is it that I need to improve? What is it that I need to improve on? So I pray that this walk through Proverbs thus far has helped you do that, has helped you really discern and decipher where it is, the areas in your life that you need to build upon. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love each and every one of you. I pray you have a blessed week this week. We are headed into July. We are halfway done with this year, y'all. And God has continued to keep us, and God will continue to keep us despite whatever is going on in the world and in the East. God's got us. We're not even going to be worried about it, because when it's time, it's time. The trumps will blow, and that's that. But God has got us. God is keeping us. God has kept us. And for this, we give thanks. Again, I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in with me tonight in this late night edition of June's Journey Through the Book of Wisdom with Reverend Dr. Lique, Reverend Dr. Angelique House. And I'll see you next week for our 5th and final installment of our June's Journey Through the Book of Wisdom. Until then, blessings. Love ya. Be slow to anger this week. Bye for now.